Hello, and thank you for joining me from wherever you are. Today's daf is Daf 91 Amud A, Bava Metzia. Let's kick off. It is taught at the beginning of the tractate Teruma that the Torah prohibits the substitution of a non-sacred animal for a consecrated one. The Mishnah teaches in Teruma 2a that is not to say that it is permitted for a person to effect substitution. Tamura, substitution. The case of substitution appears in a very brief form in the Torah. He may not inquire whether it's good or bad. Neither shall he substitute it, and if he is substituted at all, both it and that which is substituted shall be sacred in Leviticus 27:33. Nevertheless, the numerous problems surrounding this halacha necessitate the entire tractate of the Talmud Teruma. The basic halacha of substitution is that a non-sacred animal may not be substituted for a consecrated one, whether it is blemished or not. If one brings another animal and declares that it was a substitute for a consecrated animal, and thereby violates his prohibition for which he is flogged, as stated here. Nevertheless, substitution itself is effective, and that the sanctity of the first animal is party to the second animal, despite the fact that the original offering retains its sanctity unimpaired, and both animals are now consecrated. It should also be noted that different halachot apply to various substituted animals, as some of them may be sacrificed as offerings while others may not. Rather, it means that if one substitutes a non-sacred animal for a consecrated animal, the substitution takes effect, the non-sacred animal becomes consecrated. The consecrated animal remains sacred, and one is substituted, and the non-sacred animal incurs 40 lashes. So what does that mean? Teruma Ansha, substitution as punishment. One is liable to be flogged for each animal that he substitutes, despite the fact that he did not perform an action, but merely spoke. Teruma 1:1. This indicates that one is liable for misspeech even without any accompanying action. Reish Lakish said to him, in accordance with Huda's opinion of this Mishnah, it is in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Huda, who says one is flogged for violating a prohibition that does not involve an action. In accordance with the dispute between Rabbi Yochanan and Reish Lakish, it is in accordance with the opinion of the rabbis who maintain that one is punished only for transgression that includes a full-fledged action. But can you establish and explain that Mishnah in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Huda? After all, it teaches in the first clause, everyone substitutes a non-sacred animal for a consecrated animal, both men and women. And we discuss this term by asking the following question. This term, everyone, serves to add what? What is the Tana including in this phrase? We answer that it serves to add an heir. V'atuye yorish, to add an heir. If an heir substitutes his father's offering, the substitution takes effect, and according to the unattributed opinion in the Mishnah, Rambam Sefer Kabban Teruma 1:5, who can substitute an animal for an animal that he inherited that was designated as an offering, and this clause is not in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Huda. The Gemara elaborates, as if it were in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Huda, doesn't he say that an heir cannot effect substitution and an heir cannot place his hands on the head of an offering? The Gemara refuses difficulty. This is not a conclusive proof, as it is possible to say that this Tana of the Mishnah in Teruma holds in accordance with the opinion of Rabbi Huda in regard to one matter and disagreed in regard to another matter. The sages taught one who muzzles a cow and threshes with it is flogged, and in addition he must pay. With regard to one who rented an animal, muzzled it, and threshed with it, he is liable to be flogged and must pay the owner 4 cow for a cow, and 3 cow for a donkey for each day of threshing. Rambam Sefer Mishpat Hilchos Shekirut 13:2, Shulchan Aruch Choshen Mitzvah 13:38:4. You must pay the owner of the cow 4 cow for a cow. Why must he pay such a large amount? After all, the Gemara stated earlier that one may place a bundle of straw before an animal or feed it straw before it threshes, which would certainly prevent him from eating that much. This answer given is a sage established system so as to penalize the sinner. That's from Talmud Rabbeinu Peretz. The usual amount it consumes while threshing, and 3 cow for a donkey. The Gemara asks, but isn't there a principle that the offender is not flogged and also punished by death, and likewise he is not flogged and rendered liable to pay? In the case of one who performs a transgression that is punishable by both court-imposed capital punishment and the obligation of payment, he does not have to pay. This principle applies even if he commits the transgression unwittingly, and therefore and therefore exempt from court-imposed capital punishment, meaning one who is not flogged, and simultaneously deemed liable to pay. If one sinned unwittingly or was not warned, he would not be liable to be flogged, therefore he would be liable to pay. This applies only if he incurred both punishments at the same time. If he was the first obligated to pay, after he incurred the physical punishment, he pays and is also flogged or executed. Bava Metzia Daf, Yochid Sanhedrin 18:2 and Sefer Nazik and Yochid Geneva 3:1 and Shulchan Aruch Mishpat 51:1. One who transgresses a prohibition is liable to receive only one punishment for a single offense. Abai said, in accordance with whose opinion this ruling is that of Rabbi Meir, who says in general that one can be flogged and be liable to pay. Bava said there's a difference between the transgressions itself, which is between the offender and God, for which one is liable to be flogged, and the loss he caused the owner of the cow, for which he must pay restitution. The Torah prohibits one from bringing an offering as an offering an animal given as the payment to a prostitute for services rendered. Deuteronomy 23:19. S9. Payment to a prostitute. There's a prohibition against bringing to the temple an offering any animal that was once given to a prostitute as a fee, or money gained from the sale of a dog. Deuteronomy 23:19. The sages explain that this qualification applies only to animals used directly for these purposes, but not to any other item that was exchanged for these animals. Therefore, if money is given to a prostitute, which then she uses to purchase an animal, that animal is not disqualified. Similarly, only the animal that was actually exchanged for a dog is disqualified. And this prohibition applies even if the man in question engaged with intercourse with his own mother. An animal given as the fee to a prostitute may not be sacrificed upon the altar. This payment consists of anything promised to a prostitute and given to her in exchange for services rendered. For the purposes of this halacha, a prostitute means anyone forbidden to him due to an incestuous relationship, or by regular prohibition, as well as a Canaanite maidservant or Gentile. Rambam Sefer Avoda Hilchot Yisurim Mizbeach 4:8, which is a capital offense. Although this man would certainly not be rendered liable to pay compensation by a court, as he is liable to receive court-imposed capital punishment, nevertheless, since he is technically liable to pay compensation, the money is subject to the prohibition as well. In this case, too, despite the fact that a court cannot compel one to pay for the purchase his cow aid, he does owe this sum. Furthermore, if the owner of the produce were to seize the sum from him, the court would not force him to return the money. Rav states a different answer. From the time of its pulling of the cow to rent it for threshing, obligated to provide sustenance when it threshes. But as for flogging, he is not liable to be flogged until the actual time of muzzling. In other words, he was liable to pay the money to him before he incurred liability to receive lashes, which means that there are two separate liabilities. In relation to the above discussion, Rav Papa said, the matter stated below were raised as a dilemma to me by the members of the court of Rav Papa Ba'aba, and I resolved these matters for them by saying that there is a prohibition in both cases. One of my decisions was in accordance with the halacha, and the other one was not in accordance with the halacha. He first raises the dilemma for me. What is halacha with regard to the possibility of kneading dough with milk? And I resolved it for them by saying that there is a prohibition in accordance with the halacha. As is taught in the Bible, one may not knead dough with milk. It's prohibited to knead dough with milk when people eat it with meat. If one does so, it's however forbidden for consumption by itself. If one baked only a small amount of bread which can be eaten in one bite, if one changes its form so that it was notably different from the other loaves, it's permitted. Similarly, one may not bake bread in an oven whose inner surface has been smeared with animal fat, and if he does so, the same halacha applies as to one who kneaded his dough with milk. And that's from the Rambam Sefer Kedush, Hilchot Machalat Asurat 9:22, Shulchan Aruch Yodea 97:1. Lest one eat this bread with meat, and if he kneaded dough in this manner, the entire loaf is forbidden, because he'd be accustomed to sin. Similarly, one may not smear over an oven with the fat of an animal's tail, and if he did smear the animal in this manner, the entire loaf baked in the oven is forbidden, unless he eat it with milk, until it heats the oven without bread for long enough to burn off the fat. The other question they asked me is as follows. What is halacha with regard to bringing in a male animal and a female animal of different species into a single pen? It's permitted to bring a male animal and a female animal of different species into a single pen, Even if one sees them mating, he is not obligated to separate them in a place where there is concern that this might lead people to violate the prohibition against crossbreeding animals. One may not do so, as stated by Rav Papa, and that's from the Rambam Sefer Zerayim Hilchot Kalaim 92 Shulchan Aruch Yodei 297.3. The Torah prohibits crossbreeding the species of animal in Leviticus 19:19. This discussion is punishable by lashes. Permitted to make use of the offering of crossbreeding, e.g. a mule, which is the offspring of a donkey and a horse. The halacha governing this prohibition are discussed in Tractate Kalaim. Is there a concern that they might mate, which would violate the prohibition against crossbreeding animals, and I resolved it for them by saying that there is a prohibition, but this is not in accordance with the halacha. As Shmuel says, the Amar Shmuel, Torah discussed whether Shmuel's statement refers to Torah law or rabbinic law. Apparently there are 3 levels of action here. Actual insertion, holding the female while the male mounts it, and placing the animals in the same pen. By Torah law, only the act of insertion itself is prohibited. The sages prohibited restraining the animal, but they were not stringent with regard to an indirect action such as placing animals in a shed enclosure. With regard to adulterers, the witnesses must observe from when they appear as behaving in the manner of adulterers. One who engages in sexual intercourse with a forbidden relative is liable as soon as they complete the first stage of the insertion of the penis. The witnesses do not have to see the penetration. Rather, it is enough if they testify that they saw them cleaving together in the manner of adulterers. As a result of such testimony, the offenders are put to death, and the wife is thereby rendered forbidden to her husband. Rambam Sefer Kedush Isurei Beya 119 Shulchan Aruch Even HaEzer 21 in the comment of the Ramah. They do not need to directly observe the actual moment of the act of intercourse, but with regard to one who crossbreeds two animals of diverse kinds, he is liable only if witnesses attest that he inserted the male organ into the female like a brush into a tube. One who crossbreeds animals is liable to be flogged, but only if he manually inserts the male organ into the female. If he merely assisted a male animal to mount a female, or if he verbally instigated their mating, he has violated a rabbinic prohibition to the attached, for which he received lashes of rebelliousness. That's in the Rambam Sefer Zerayim Hilchot Kalaim 9:1, Aruch Yodei 297 1-2. Michol Bifoferes. Since ancient times, women have used thin tubes to store substances such as coal, used for cosmetic and medicinal purposes. These substances are removed from the tube with a brush, which is often a thin reed. There's a picture of a Roman coal tube. This clearly shows that crossbreeding is punishable only if performed manually, not if the animals were merely enclosed together. Rav Achadvoy, this Aramaic word is a contraction of Ahad De'avu, which literally means father's brother or uncle. Certain people use this as a first name similar to the name Abba Father. But Ami made an objection against this opinion from a bite. Had the Torah merely stated merely, you should not let your cattle copulate, either Nama Behem Techot Lo Thalbia, the Bible is suggesting that one who mates animals might violate the mitzvah, you shall keep them from every evil matter in Deuteronomy 23:10, as this practice might lead to sinful thoughts. By specifying crossbreeding, the Torah clarifies there is no concern as to sinful thoughts, provided that the individual is focused on his work towards Chaim. I would have said it is prohibited to assist animals in the mating at all, and consequently a person may not hold a female animal when a male mounts it. Therefore, the verse states, you should not make to copulate with a diverse kind, Leviticus 19:19, which indicates that it is prohibited to mate only different species, but not animals of the same type. Can one not derive from here by inference that with regard to diverse kinds, holding the animal is also not allowed? This indicates that not only is the act of crossbreeding itself prohibited, but any type of assistance is also prohibited, e.g. restraining the female animal. But if this is the case, placing two animals in the same pen should be considered a violation. Well, refuse this argument. What is the meaning of the term holding? It means the insertion of the sexual organ. Why does the Tanna call it holding? This is a euphemism. Rav Rabbi Yehuda says, if one desires to mate an animal of one species with the animal of another species, permitted for one to mate animals by performing the insertion of the male organ into the female, occupation, because occupation with this has prevented any sinful thoughts. That's from the Rambam Sefer Kedush Yisuri Be'er 22:20, Ben Ezra 23:3. It's permitted to insert the male organ into the female like a bush into a tube, and there is not even a concern due to licentiousness and more thoughts here. What is the reason for this lenient ruling? It's because he occupied with his work, and therefore his mind will not entertain sinful thoughts. Rav Advoi Ba'ami raised objection against this. That's the end of Amud A. Wish you a very good day, take care, and peace in Israel. All the best, bye.